Hello, thank you for joining us. My name is Sarah Ruiz. I am the executive director of the Ashrei Foundation, and I use she, her pronouns. And I'd like to have my colleague introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Betsy Miller, and I'm the interim project coordinator for the North City Photo ID Clinic, and my pronouns are she, hers.
And this recording is for the document team's mini training. That's what we're calling it, related to the North City Photo ID project. So give me just 1 second to share my screen and we'll dive right in. This should take about 30 minutes or less. And then when you complete this training on recording, then we'll give instructions at the end about what you need to do in order to activate what you learn tonight. So give me just 1 second, I'll share the screens. And Betsy, can you confirm for me that that is up and looking good?
I am seeing it.
All right, let's dive in. So as I mentioned, what we're going to do tonight is just a very quick introduction to the Ashrei Foundation and the North City Photo ID project. We're going to review pretty quickly what the process for the documents are at Photo ID Clinic. I know some of you are deeply involved in that project already, have attended volunteer trainings, maybe volunteered in the past. So we're not going to go into the nitty gritty. If you are like, I don't know what she's talking about, this feels really confusing, then I will invite you to watch some of our other recorded trainings so that you can have a more comprehensive understanding of what happens in the photo ID clinics. But that's kind of perk information. You don't really need to know that or have been involved in photo ID in order to support with this small aspect, which we're calling sort of document support teams. So then we'll kind of describe what the two kinds of teams are, what we're looking for, what the volunteer expectations are, that process for how it's going to work. And like I said, we'll give you some clear next steps and go from there. So the Ashrei Foundation is a nonprofit. It's a 501c3 that was founded by Rabbi Susan Talvi in 2021. We began operations in the spring of 2022, and I am very thrilled to be Ashrei's first executive director. So we have a close relationship with Central Reform Congregation, which was also founded by Rabbi Susan not quite 40 years ago, almost 40 years ago. The Ashrei Foundation really exists to empower and activate people in St. Louis and really throughout the state of Missouri to promote economic justice, to relieve suffering, and to interrupt cycles of poverty. So in our startup year plus, 18 months almost, we have been developing a lot of those processes and structures. You can see some of our goals here. There's more information on our website, but one of our, and I would say probably one of our current programs, and I would say our flagship program, is the North City Photo ID project. So I want to talk a little bit about that so that we are sharing at least a base understanding with an assumption that some of you might not be familiar with it yet. So Betsy, would you be willing to give us an overview for that, please?
Absolutely. There are really two ways that we work with our guests. One is with logistical assistance and one is with financial assistance. So we have our volunteers that work with our guests to ensure that the guests understand our process, understand the requirements for obtaining their documents. Our volunteers also can get very creative at times when helping our guests get the documents that they need in order to move forward. A lot of problem solving that goes on in these face-to-face interactions. Then we can also provide additional assistance to some of our guests who may be experiencing some homelessness, and giving also clear next steps for documents, for voting, for advocacy. The second way that I mentioned that we work with our guests and support our guests is with financial assistance. So there's a couple of ways that we do that. We cover the cost of one birth certificate and one photo ID per person per year. And we also are working hard to expand access through the Go Vote Missouri Free ID to Vote program. And we also provide free bus passes to the guests that might benefit from having those. One of the key cornerstones that we really rely on when we're working with our guests is this idea of dignity for all. So we treat our guests really as partners. and working with them to find solutions for them to get the documents that they need. And also, as we're working with them, we are educating them on the process and the steps that they need to take, because we believe knowledge is power.
Awesome. This probably goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. We are not issuing the documents, right? So these both photo IDs and birth certificates are issued by government offices. Generally speaking, in Missouri, those are from the Vital Records Office and from the Department of Revenue. And we are not that. So we are helping folks understand the processes, make sure that they have all their ducks in a row, so that when they get to those offices, there's a more successful experience. That's the hope anyway. We operate out of our office in the Hub. The Hub is an awesome community space that was founded by the Tabernacle Community Development Corporation under the awesome vision, transformative vision of Pastor Andre Alexander. And our program currently operates on most Thursdays between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So folks find out about our program through referrals and through word of mouth and flyers and all kinds of places. Usually folks call or text to make an appointment. And we do our best to accommodate when folks walk in without an appointment, but we prefer to schedule by appointment so that we can ensure we have enough capacity to support everyone. I also want to name that this project emerges out of a really deep and important partnership with St. Francis Xavier College Church. College Church, which is housed at St. Louis University, right there at the corner of Grand and Lindell in St. Louis, started their document outreach program as a parish outreach program in 1993. So they've been doing this for a hot minute. They are the oldest, longest standing program of this nature in the state of Missouri, to our knowledge. And they have been seeing, at least since last year, a historically high demand. They're serving over 60 people each week. And it is a massive amount of coordination and volunteer labor that goes into all of that. And they provide over $50,000 a year in financial assistance in order to meet that community need. So in 2022, when the Missouri legislature passed House Bill 1878 and radically changed photo ID laws as it pertains to voting in Missouri, the Ashrei Foundation was sort of in all of these intersectional spaces, figuring out like, what's our lane and how can we exist as a helpful new nonprofit in St. Louis? And this kind of emerged as, wow, College Church knows that this need exists. Now we think this need is going to be even higher for some people because of the passage of 1878. But how can College Church share their model and push it out and equip other people in St. Louis, but also throughout the state in order to do this, to meet this growing need in the community that certainly, I think, well surpasses what people might reasonably think of is within a parish outreach program limit. So College Church shared everything. They equipped Ashrei and said, please do this. We know that there are more people that we can't reach, and we don't want to be a bottleneck. So in the last year, Ashrei has partnered really closely with College Church to do just that, to not only equip and launch our program, but to also develop and design access to how both of our programs work with, which are different. There's some slight nuances between our programs, but then push it throughout the state of Missouri so that other places where this need exists have what they need in order to meet it, right? We don't have to start from zero, and this isn't about competition. This is collaborating to make sure that all Missourians have access to what they need to thrive in our state. So the primary vehicle that we do that through that we kind of push this out to the state is through the Missouri State ID Access Coalition, which was founded by College Church a few years ago. And the coalition has, I put our goals here on the slide. You can review it. You can also visit it and visit the coalition's website to learn more. That's moidaccess.org. But just to know that like our little program and the little work that we do is really part of a much bigger, broader effort in the state of Missouri to improve access for all. We know that having a photo ID is the barrier and the key to overcoming that barrier to accessing a multitude of services that are basic needs, right? Including housing, employment, education enrollment, healthcare, banking, financial, I mean, the list goes on and on. So we really feel excited and honored to be part of such a collaborative effort. So I'm going to ask Betsy, if you don't mind, kind of just doing a quick overview. No, I'm going to do a quick overview of the documents, and then I'll pass it to you, Betsy, to talk about like how things end up at Ashrei and why do we need document teams. So like Betsy mentioned, we have in the clinic space, we support kind of in 3 different ways in terms of the documents that we process. So most folks come in and need to get a photo ID. But the first thing that we'll ask is, do you have a Missouri do you have a birth certificate? Since that's a requirement for most people to get an ID. I'm going to say most people because there's a caveat that if you've had an ID and it's current or expired within the last 6 months, then you won't need to produce or to show your birth certificate to renew or to get a new one. So when we start the process of a photo ID, we are then quickly reverted to talk about birth certificates first. Missouri birth certificates are pretty easy to obtain in person. Excuse me. So we do most of our work with Missouri birth certificates. Most of the people we see are born in Missouri, and most of the Missouri birth certificate applications we support are obtained in person. So those kinds of things usually don't end up to us. We don't see sort of the end products of those. The guest usually can take what they need and get it on the spot while they wait. If you weren't born in Missouri, though, then the process becomes very different. We will not review those. We don't do it in our big volunteer trainings. We're not going to do it now because each state has a different out-of-state birth certificate application process with a multitude of different requirements. It gets real messy. But we walk through all of that with our guests. And when that happens, sometimes we do it online, most of the time we try to do it in mail, but then we go through what are the underlying documents you need in order to get your birth certificate and how does that process happen. Then we're finally able to talk about the photo ID. So in Missouri photo IDs, there's generally 5 things that you need. You have to prove identity and lawful status. Those are usually both done by a United States birth certificate. The third thing that you'll need is usually proof of Social Security. So most folks who have had a Missouri ID before that is either currently valid or has expired in the last 10 years are able to recite their Social Security number. However, for first-time applicants or people that haven't had one in a long time, they'll need to show the Social Security card. So in addition to identity and lawful status and Social Security, the fourth element of the Missouri ID is proof of Missouri residency. There's a big list of documents. Most folks generally think of things like mail, a utility bill, a letter from a government agency, something like that. Sometimes it can also be a letter from a homeless shelter or a couple of other options when someone is in transitional housing. So and then the fifth thing, because I said there was 5, is the cost. And so Missouri non-driver, non-real photo IDs are $18. And sometimes there's a 6th thing, which is if you've had a name change, then you have to demonstrate proof of name change. But we don't see that too often in our program. So Betsy, I'm going to pass to you to talk about, after we go through all of that, what are the reasons or conditions under which stuff gets mailed to Ashrei?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that might get mailed to us is an out-of-state birth certificate. And this usually happens when our guests' housing situation may be a little bit unstable and they don't have a permanent mailing address. They can have it mailed to us. Sarah, as you mentioned before, we don't see that really with the Missouri birth certificates because most people are walking in and getting it the same day. So, but we do see that some with the out-of-state birth certificates. And then the Missouri photo IDs, when we provide a guest with the Form 5862, which allows our guests to use our address if they are experiencing some housing instability, that then at that address is then on their photo ID, which then gets mailed to us a couple of weeks after they have gone into the license office. And so at that point, when we have an out-of-state birth certificate or we have an ID that has been mailed to us, then we need to coordinate with the guest to make that handoff.
And that's where the document teams come in. So we're thinking about this program in two ways. And I would say we're going to pilot this. We're going to give this a try and see how it works. So the way we're thinking about it is, given that a lot of the folks who have something mailed to Ashrei are doing so because they don't have a stable housing situation, we're trying to think of the ways that we can reduce barriers for them to get their documents at the end of the day, right? So that might mean delivering documents, meeting someone somewhere in the city to hand them their documents. I would say for in the past year or so, I have delivered maybe a dozen different IDs to folks. And usually I've done those in public places, right? I've done that at Metrolink stations, bus stations, gas stations, sometimes like a Walgreens parking lot or something like that. That is easier for me, given the privilege that I have, to get to them rather than to demand or expect that they come back to us in Jack Vanderloo neighborhood just to pick up their documents. The second team would be the pickup team. So that would be where we have folks that can come to the hub again and pick up their documents there. So while we have an office there, Betsy and I aren't there, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We're definitely there on Thursdays, and then we're there scattered throughout the week. So it will be helpful to have a few folks that also have access to the office that can coordinate with someone to meet at the hub during the weekday when the hub security staff is there. There's usually other people in the building, so that then there's a safe environment and a known environment, right? Because that individual will have already been to the hub and been to our office. They know how to get back there to pick it up. So in these sort of two spaces, let's talk about delivery team first. Basically, when you sign up and say, yes, I want to be on the delivery team, what I'm envisioning will happen is that when we get a document from one of our guests, Betsy or I will send a message out to the whole delivery team and say, hey, y'all, so-and-so, we have a ID that needs to be delivered. Who is available in the next 2 weeks or so, right? Whoever responds first gets the document delivery assignment, right? So from that point on, Betsy or I would just coordinate one-to-one with the volunteer and say, okay, we have to first meet up and we'll give you the document and we will give you the guest contact information. Then the volunteer will coordinate directly with the guest in order to find and confirm the delivery logistics. Again, I'm going to request that those happen during daylight hours and in public spaces, just for general safety. I'm also going to trust that you are grown adults and you are going to make responsible choices that align with your own personal values and with those of the Ashrei Foundation. So after you do that, then we just need a quick report back to me or to Betsy, whoever you were in touch with first, to say the document was delivered to the individual at this date, and then it's good to go, and that's it. On delivery teams, we're going to request initially that it be teams of 2 people. I've already heard the question. Well, but like, if I'm going to sign up, can my spouse just go with me? I feel like that's fine. If you have someone to go with you, that isn't a volunteer, like a spouse or a significant other, that feels totally fine and appropriate to me. I think I would like to avoid a scenario where someone is by themselves in an area that they're not familiar or comfortable with, and just want to avoid those kinds of circumstances. On the pickup team side, process is going to be similar, but obviously slightly different, since we'll be coordinating pickup only at the hub. So we will get you a key to our office. The hub building is unlocked when it is staffed by a security officer, which is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, I believe, maybe 8 to 6 p.m. actually. I will confirm that with our document pickup team. But then you would have the key in advance. Betsy or I will show you around the office and make sure you know where the documents are that you're looking for. And then after we do that, we'll have similarly a list of people who are on the pickup team. When a document comes in, we'll reach out to you and say, we have a document ready for pickup. Who's available? The volunteer that responds will then be given the contact information of the guest. From that point forward, it's volunteer direct communication with the guest to coordinate the date and time to pick up at the hub. The volunteer would meet the guest at the hub independently, or like, for example, not relying on Betsy or I to also be there. Give the document to the guest at the hub, and then similarly report back to Ashrei when the document has been picked up. So I feel more comfortable having individuals on the document pickup team since anytime that you're at the hub, there's a security officer on site, and there are generally, not always, but generally other people in the building. So it feels like a really safe and secure environment. I will say for both of these, I'm gonna request that this be daytime working hours only. I know for some deliveries, it's easy to do it after work for some folks, and that's also okay. So I don't feel a need to micromanage that. I feel an expectation that you're thinking about your safety and the safety of the guest, and thinking about your dignity and the dignity of the guest through all of these. Other thoughts, Betsy, as I'm going through this that we have discussed and you want to add in?
I think you've covered it.
Great. So this program allows you to be flexible with your time. So unlike the photo ID application support volunteers that are like 10 to 2 on Thursdays, and that's pretty much it, you have a lot of flexibility and control over when you do this. And so I know that guests often are really anxious and eager to get their documents. So there's some sense of urgency. I'm definitely not going to say you have to do this in 24, 48 hours. I don't feel the need to do any sort of that kind of expectations. But I would say best case scenario, from when we get the document to when it gets to the hands of the individual, best case scenario should be a week or less. That's certainly not the case for everyone, and that's okay. But I'm looking for, I think, a quicker turnaround time than like, oh, if I can do this over the next month, I'll say yes. If you're going out of town when we send the request, you're not available. Please don't say you're available when you're not available, right? So that's sort of just kind of communication around that. So when you're ready, I need you to sign up for a team. We will confirm teams by email and text message. So there's a sign up form on the Ashrei Foundation's website. If you're watching this, you can pause the video now and you can screenshot, like with your phone, take a photograph of the QR code, and it will link you directly to our website. Or you can just go to ashreifoundation.org and click Get Involved Volunteer from the menu, and then scroll down. There's a simple form that you fill out with your name, your email, and your phone number, and then series of volunteer responsibilities. You can pick ID pickup team and ID delivery team. You can sign up for both, or you can sign up for one. Betsy and I will be going through and confirming. So after you sign up, you'll get an email or text confirmation. And then if you are on the pickup team, we'll coordinate with you to get you a copy of our office key. And if not, we'll just get ready to make some asks to volunteers. We'd like to start this probably by mid-November 2023. And I know that we have some IDs and documents in-house already that Betsy and I have been trying to coordinate with. So we might tap in some of our new volunteers to help connect those dots. If you're thinking like, okay, this is cool, maybe you could do this, but maybe this isn't for you. We have some upcoming trainings and other events and opportunities at the time of this recording. So I'm sure there'll be more in the future as well. So you can certainly visit our website and go to the events page. And I would welcome you to attend a training. You can watch a recorded training if you're interested in application support of the photo ID project or any of the other work that we're doing. This is another great time that you could pause the recording, and you can snap any of these on your phone as well. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to Ashrei's email list. We don't send very many emails. I would say maybe 2 a month on our busy months. But that's the best way to get updates and understand how you can get involved with Ashrei and what's the work that we are doing. The second one is a direct link to our events page. The third one has some more information about the photo ID project. Betsy and I went through it pretty quickly, but the rest of it's on our website. And certainly we would encourage you to consider making a donation to support this work. Betsy, anything further?
No.
Okay.
That's great.
Well, with that, we will wrap it up. Thank you for your time. And if you've just completed this recording as your training, your next step is to fill out that form, or if you've already filled it out, but haven't heard from us, you can email Betsy or Sarah, and we will coordinate with you to make sure you are in the loop. Thanks for all you do, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye.